That's Bob Dean's.
I was going to click on it on the side over there.
Well, Jackie.
Well, good evening there, Counselor.
Hit connect automatically within range. Turn that on.
Whenever I go to
All right.
League of Cities, I always look up Bob and just hear stories. It's entertaining. It's like watching the Discovery Channel. You just sit there and listen to him talk sewers. It's
Does
love
Judy
it.
Corcoran have the Zoom link? Can I forward it to her?
You sure can.
Nope.
Yeah.
Upside down.
Lift it up. Put it sideways.
I almost got it. There you go. Hey, there it is. Success, victory.
Upside down or something.
Right?
Because you have to read backwards and upside down all night.
Unclear.
Which would be more like
Guys are
contract
ready?
law, isn't it?
You're ready. David and Stephanie, I think, are ready, so we're gonna get moving. I just gotta remember not to start my microphone. Okay, let's get started. We will go ahead and call to order the City Council Business Meeting for Thursday, May 6, 2021. It is 6:01 PM. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Here, sorry.
all right. Baker,
Here.
Reba,
Here.
Cool,
Here.
Livingston. Here. Mayor Tom Phillips.
I am here as well. We have a quorum, so we will move on. This meeting of the Norwalk City Council on May 6, 2021 is being held both in person and electronically. Governor Reynolds issued a state of public health disaster effective January 7th, 2021 that lifted the prohibition on indoor gatherings of more than 10 people as long as physical distancing is possible. I issued a proclamation of emergency effective January 15th, 2021 that reopened our public buildings. We have limited seating in council chambers, but we are open to the public. If you are uncomfortable attending our meetings in person, you are welcome to attend the meeting either on Zoom or on YouTube Live. We've added electronic meetings to our mix, and we've had some technical glitches over the past year. So I ask that we all be patient and respectful with each other as we conduct this meeting. For those on the Zoom meeting, you'll notice that your microphones are probably muted. If you want to speak to an agenda item, go ahead and unmute your mic and speak up during public comment. You can also let us know you have some input by raising your Zoom hand or by flagging us in the chat box. We'll then recognize you during public comment. And we are streaming this meeting through YouTube. We believe YouTube provides the ability for a much broader audience to view our meetings, and we are recording this meeting, so please act accordingly. Finally, I'm only human and I may miss recognizing someone. If that happens, please interrupt me via the chat box. I will not be offended at all if you do. So item 2 on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you please stand, take your hats off, and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I got a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same. And that motion carries. Item 4 is welcome of guests and public comment. This would be for non-agenda items. You're welcome to speak to council and address council tonight. Like I said, we'll give you a 3-minute time limit. We can't take any action on these tonight since they aren't on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. So do we have anybody wanting to speak tonight?
This is Judy Corcoran, and I do.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do not have a black eye, which is what it appears on my screen.
Yes. So Judy, can you state your name and your address for the record?
Judy Corcoran, 1736 Bristol in Norwalk. And I'm here this evening on behalf of Norwalk Hometown Pride to talk to you about Front Porch Norwalk and to invite your participation again. This will be our 4th summer, and in fact, we even did Front Porch Norwalk last summer, socially distanced, and the city was well represented. So we're getting ready to roll it out again for 2021. Christy Peterson and Kelsey Messer are the other members of the committee, and I don't know if they are listening. I can't tell, or if they're on the call somewhere. So it is our 4th summer. We will start June 9th, and we will do, as we have, one night a month for the 3 months of summer. This is our 4th summer of partnering with the Norwalk Police Department, and that's part of what makes the activity so special. I talked to somebody who's new to the community today, and she was very impressed by the fact that we have the partnership with the police department. And then I also want to thank the Economic Development Department, because again, that's a partner and support for us in Hometown Pride projects. We will start June 9th, and in fact, the big change this year is that we're going to be doing all the Front Porch Norwalks on Wednesday night, and that's partly to make it more convenient for the police officers, and also it'll avoid the golf leagues that go on Tuesday nights. So June 9th is the first one. That's a Wednesday. We'll also do July 14th and August 11th. After I leave this call, I will email all of you the flyer that we will use to promote it, and we'll start soon. Fairway always distributes them for us in the library, City Hall. We really will promote pretty heavily this summer to, get people to get out, get to know their neighbors, re-engage with people that they may not have seen for months. So we're excited to be able to do it again for the 4th summer. Any questions? I see smiles. That's a good sign.
Yeah. But Judy, the Front Porch Norwalk is a great event, and I would encourage people to either have an event or, as far as council goes, get out and Chief and Judy will have a list of where they're happening. Go to some of them and just introduce yourself. It's really kind of fun.
Yep.
Yeah. We really have appreciated your involvement from so many of the council members and city leaders, city officials, as well as the officers from the police department for 4 years now. And that's pretty amazing. Carlisle wants to copy us. I guess we'll let them. Then we're hoping some of the other Hometown Pride committees will do it. But anyway, it is the easiest hosting job anybody will ever do. Okay, thank you all.
Yeah, I had a good time participating.
It is fun.
Hosting it as well as stopping in. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you. I'm going to stay on the call. The meetings are always interesting.
All right. I don't know what that says about you that you said that.
I know. It doesn't say much.
All right. Anybody else like to address council tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 5 was presentations. Sheriff Carrico is not able to make it with us tonight, so we will reschedule that. He had a personal item come up that he had to take care of. So we'll move on to item 6 for proclamations. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 proclamations tonight. So first one is a proclamation declaring May 2021 as neurofibromatosis Awareness Month, and May 17th, 2021 as World Neurofibromatosis Awareness Day. We have a proclamation declaring May 16th to the 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week. We have a proclamation declaring May 16th through the 22nd of 2021 as National Public Works Week. We have a proclamation declaring May 9th through 15th, 2021 as National Police Week. And we have a proclamation declaring May 2nd to the 8th, that's this week, 2021, as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And I would just like to quickly recognize our clerk, Lindsay, who I would put up against any city our size in the state as far as being city clerk goes. I think she's great.
I think she could whip them.
I'll say thank you.
So I'm glad, Lindsay, I'm glad you're with us and on our team. Yeah. All right, item 7 is consent agenda. We have approved the April 15th, 2021 minutes of the regular city council meeting. We have expenditures, tax abatements, and we have a renewal of tobacco permits. We have a resolution setting May 20th, 2021 for a public hearing regarding an amendment to the city of Norwalk zoning ordinance related to solar energy systems. We have setting May 2021, for a public hearing for the fiscal year 2021 budget amendment. We have a resolution setting May 20th, 2021 for a public hearing regarding water, irrigation, sewer, and recycling rates ordinance. We have a resolution approving the second contract extension for the solid waste collection and disposal with Ankeny Sanitation Incorporated. A resolution approving the name of the 179 acres of parkland purchased by the city of Norwalk on Elkhorn and Highway 28. We have a resolution to approve pay estimate number 3 to Howry Construction for construction of the Great Western Trail Connection Phase 1 project. We have a street closure application for the Soapbox Derby race. That'll be on June 12th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we have some correspondence. Can I get a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
What is the current status of the Great Western Trail Connection Phase 1? It looked like there was a lot of work, and then it looked like there's not been a lot of work, and then they poured concrete, and then it looked like, and people just are asking, so I'm asking.
I noticed that too, and I drove by the other day, and they're working on other places. I think they're getting ready to do some large, they're getting the bed ready for rock to come down, I think. Robin, do you have any update?
Yeah, so I do know right after we had that first pour of concrete, the company had some health issues that they had to kind of have people take some time off work. And so now, from what I know, they are back at it, and exactly what the mayor said, they are grading some of the other areas and will be bringing in rock and concrete to finish some of those areas up. They're not going in any order to say that they're joining each gap. They're doing the areas that are easiest first.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I noticed a difference between Wednesday and today. So
I'll move the consent agenda.
All right. Got a second?
One second.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Livingston, second by Cool. Sorry, Stephanie. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 8, we have old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. Item A underneath that is a public hearing regarding the 2021 Windflower Drainage Improvements, Merle Huff Avenue to Cassidy Drive project. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:13 p.m. Wayne, do you want to talk about this a little bit, council?
Sure. When the development north of this area was starting to occur, I think we had a public hearing where some of the residents expressed some concern of the area being wet or how the area might change. FOLT performed a study of the area, and this is a project that they identified that would help. With the new detention area north of there, they won't have the big goalie washers coming through, but they may get a longer discharge of flow. It'll retain a 100-year flow or detain it, but release it at a 5-year. This project here will install 24-inch pipe up through from Cassidy up to south of Merle Huff. So if it's a low flow like that, after the rain event's over and it's a lower flow, this 24-inch pipe will pick that up, get it underground, it'll help that area dry out.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Lindsay, have you received any oral or written comments on this?
I have not.
Okay. Do we have any other public comment on this item? Anybody on Zoom? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6:14 p.m. Item 8B is a resolution approving and confirming plan specifications, form of contract, an estimate of cost for the 2021 Windflower Drainage Improvements Merle Huff Avenue to Cassidy Drive project. So this is the first of three resolutions that are needed to perform the work for the Windflower Drainage Improvement Project. Wayne, do you got anything to add?
We have not, or I have not worked with Progressive Structures. They're a little bit, but Foth, the company who designed it, has worked with them. They had positive things to say. If it is awarded tonight, they're hoping to start around the end of May, toward the end of May. So yet this month, they're hoping to get started.
Great. Any discussion or comments, questions from
I
council?
just had one question in my mind. I was trying to understand how far south will that change go?
They're gonna start right south of Cassidy Drive, north of the pool.
Okay.
Right south of Cassidy Drive, and it'll go up to where just south of Merle Huff. There's some intakes on Merle Huff, and then a pipe going south for discharges. So to put an area intake right there.
Uh-huh.
Can't give you the exact length, but that city-owned parcel between Merle Huff and Cassidy, it'll go that entire length.
Okay, so that should pretty well encapsulate at least the beginning of that watershed area for that
Yeah,
creek, right?
It'll be a great improvement.
Yeah.
People will have a lot drier backyards and more usable space. Sure.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cool, seconded by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8C is resolution awarding contract for the 2021 Windflower Drainage Improvements Merle Huff Avenue to Cassidy Drive project. So this is the second resolution needed for the drainage improvements. Wayne, anything to add on this one?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions, comments from council?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion by Livingston, second by Baker, to award the contract to Progressive Structures LLC. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8D is resolution approving the contract and bond for the 2021 Windflower Drainage Improvements Merle Huff Avenue to Cassidy Drive project. So this is the final resolution to get the drainage improvement project moving. Wayne, anything?
Nothing else, sir.
Any questions from council? Public comment?
Motion.
Got a motion? Anybody want to second it?
I was gonna let one of them online second it.
Second.
All
There you go. All
right.
right, Stephanie.
All right. Motion by Livingston, second by Reba. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8E is a public hearing regarding a rezoning request for 1400 Sunset Drive to establish an infill PUD. So we'll open up the public hearing at 6:18 PM. Luke, would you present this one to council?
Sure thing.
I just want to interrupt for just a second. I am getting a couple text messages. There's a couple people that have signed on and they're watching through YouTube. So at this point, I might get texts, but YouTube is a little delay. So as soon as I get a question or something, I'll just interrupt and let you know what that is.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so this proposal brought to you is from Jocelyn Stephanie, looking to acquire the property at 1400 Sunset, which is currently zoned C2 and is the site of formerly Tacos Andreas. At point before that, I believe the Blue Jay Cafe and the Bread and Breakfast, I think a lot of us know it as. So an older building, they're looking to tear that down and build a new commercial structure there that they would operate a hair salon out of. The nature of that structure is that it could be improved and redeveloped with the current structure because it's non-conforming to our zoning ordinance. But once it's torn down, any new structure needs to meet the current zoning ordinance, and the C2 setbacks in there really constrict the buildable area of that lot because it's kind of an odd shape on the diagonal of Highway 28. So this kind of does two main things. It sets setbacks, and I think Luke is scrolling. Are you on broadcasting that to Zoom as well, Luke?
Nope.
Okay,
not,
if you
but
could.
I will shortly.
If you could show that out to them. Really, I think the last page of the agenda item here kind of covers most of the things in this. There are some pink lines on this last map that shows where those setbacks would be set at under the new proposed zoning. I'll let Luke get caught up there. And then I'm gonna just draw on here real quick. So the setbacks are a little strange. It's 45 feet from the Highway 28, which actually sets the building farther back than the veterinary clinic to the south and the other hair salon to the north. So it does get pushed a little bit farther back on the lot, farther back than the bread and breakfast building as well. That was done to provide enough space for parking at the front of the building. Side setbacks set at 7.5 feet. And then that rear setback line, if you read the code language, we wrote it as such so that it would establish that line kind of on that north-south, because normally the setback would come on an angle off of that rear line. So the intent of that, I'll do my best to crudely draw that, was so that a kind of square-shaped building could be fit in here.
We can't see anything you're going.
You can't see.
Now it's it.
Hey, look at that. Just took a minute. So that yellow crudely drawn box there, that's the intent of how they want to fit a building on there. And so you can see why we have to set the setbacks the way they are. But that building envelope won't be fully encompassed by that building. It's just you're trying to fit a square building on a trapezoid or parallelogram, right? Yeah, get my shapes right. The other thing with that is there are some dead trees in the back. They'll take those down as part of this. And then rather than saying a specific buffer width, we've just said the rear yard area needs to have plantings equal to a buffer.
Okay. Are they gonna put up a fence, do you know?
I don't believe we've covered that detail. Yeah. They may, that would, the PUD doesn't require that.
Okay.
But leave it at that.
All right. Lindsay, have you received any oral or written comments on this item?
I have not.
Okay, any other public comment on the item?
Maybe just give it a couple more minutes just because of the delay.
While we kind of wait on that, I guess I should note, obviously this was a public hearing at Planning and Zoning Commission. Our commission did vote on it and recommends approval of it as presented.
Is the Zoom link readily available?
It is, and I even texted the information to them and they said it wouldn't work for them. So,
Because we need to make sure we're not having a meeting inside of the meeting.
Right.
Which is why we don't allow comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right, Jim?
You are.
So I don't, yeah, I don't think we'll slow down too much for you.
okay.
Okay.
We will just, I guess, for people listening, note that, it is the first reading. So there are additional readings that happen at city council. So if we need to talk about questions, they can contact me at our office in community development via phone or email, and we'll happy to answer those questions. And if we need to take a written statement for a future public discussion, we can do that as well.
All right. With that said, we'll go ahead and close public hearing at 6, I lost my clock, 6:24 p.m. Thank you. Item 8F is the first reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by rezoning 1400 Sunset Drive from C2 community commercial to the 1400 Sunset infill planned unit development. So this is the first reading to approve the ordinance for the rezoning 1400 that we just talked about to the 1400 Sunset infill PUD. Luke, you got anything else to add?
I do not. Happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, what questions, discussion? comments from council?
I think it's
Me
great.
too. I'm super thrilled.
I will move that.
I'll second it.
Yes.
All right. So, gosh, I got lots of moves and lots of seconds.
Cool and Baker.
All right. Any public comment on this one? Go ahead and give you a chance. Hearing none. I have a motion by Cool, second by Baker. Any further discussion from council? All right, hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, motion carries. Item 8G is a public hearing related to regulating accessory dwelling units. Boy, that was hard to say for some reason. Go ahead and open up public hearing at 6:25 PM. Luke, how about this one too?
Sure. So just a little bit of history on how we got to this discussion tonight. Earlier this year, we had a special use permit request go to our Board of Adjustment for an accessory dwelling unit located in the AR district, which is the only place we currently allow an accessory dwelling unit. That permit was denied though, because our language currently says that it has to be for an employee living at the property. So if you just want to do it for family or whatever other reason, you're not allowed to do that. Our planning commission did kind of review the request, as did the Board of Adjustment, obviously in rendering their decision, and understood the request and didn't really have an issue with what was being requested, but legally we couldn't allow that. So both of those boards recommended that maybe we take a second look at that. In February and March, we had discussions at P&Z and council again, with an ultimate kind of direction to draft something to bring back to the group to review and consider. So that's what we've done. We did hold a public hearing at the Planning Commission at our previous meeting. Didn't receive any public comments really on it other than the applicant from before with the special use permit, obviously being supportive of it. And our Planning Commission did recommend approval. On the ordinance itself, we're kind of doing several things with this ordinance. One, we're changing that definition so that we're not talking about detached accessory dwellings for employees. And it's just a secondary living unit, and it kind of describes what that means with the kitchen, sleeping area, and all those things. And that it's subordinate to the primary dwelling unit. We go on to say where it's allowed. So only on lots that contain a single family dwelling unit. So that's our AR district, our RE1 district, our R1 districts, the founders R1 district, and then in R2 districts, but only on lots that have a single family dwelling on it. Because we do have a decent number of R2 zoned lots that have a single family house, not a duplex on it. So that trying to just basically encompass everything in town that has a single family house on one lot.
Sorry. So this amendment would allow this accessory dwelling unit on any of those properties?
Correct. Yep. Some other criteria, we included a new section in our general provisions that kind of provide guidelines on how you can do an accessory dwelling unit. The kind of highlights of those are that they're only allowed in instances where the property owner lives on the premises. So you couldn't do one as a rental and then also rent out the house. There's a 650 square foot maximum. Aesthetically and structurally has to be similar to a principal building. So you can't build a barn in your backyard and say that's going to be your ADU. You got to have it be similar to your home. Requiring an additional parking spot. Our code right now for a residential dwelling requires 2 parking stalls exclusive of the garage. So the garage doesn't count in that scenario. So your normal situation is a 2-car driveway, and there's usually up to 4 spots in that spot. That covers most houses. In this instance, you would likely need to add a 3rd stall. So, but then if you had a house that already had a 3-car garage, a 3-car wide driveway, then it wouldn't already meet that requirement. It would be one more than the the requirement of code right now. And then looking at home occupations, making sure that the ADU wasn't used as a home occupation by the occupant of the principal building. So not wanting somebody to build this ADU and say, I'm going to use it as a dwelling, and then turn around and decide to run their business solely out of that as a kind of commercial building. So you can't do that. However, someone living there would be able to do any of the normal home occupations that we would typically allow. So that kind of hits the highlights. Let me just read through there real quick. In the actual ordinance there, we do have some of the info on setbacks, kind of setting it back similarly, but a little more strict actually than a shed would be. You have to meet the principal building side yard setbacks, 10-yard setback from the rear, or 10-foot separation from all structures. That's the kind of standard bulk regulation for any structure. And then a maximum height of 15, but could be allowed to be higher via special use permit. The idea there being that if someone was doing a detached garage with some kind of unit on top, that's going to go above that 15 foot, but they need to get a special use permit. And that's kind of a standard special use permit possibility in our zoning just in general. If you want to have an accessory structure higher than 15 foot, you can get a special use permit for that if the Board of Adjustment issues it. A couple other things we thought we should address. Obviously, no mobile homes, wreck trailers, campers, tents, those types of things. Those don't qualify as a accessory dwelling unit. I think the only other one, allowing ADUs to connect to all public utilities, but allowing them to connect to the service lines of the principal dwelling. The idea there would be, it ties that accessory dwelling a little bit better to the principal dwelling because their services are shared. So, its sewer line is connecting into the sewer line of the main house going out to the main. Its water line is doing the same. So it's not a separate water sewer situation. We thought that.
Would there be a cost associated with that? Is that go without saying, or is there no cost associated with that?
As far as them making those connections,
Yes.
other than the plumbing permit, I don't think there would be.
Do you mean like an additional tap charge?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know. I'm just curious. And if there is, do we need to say it? That's all I'm not suggesting there should be. I'm just asking a question.
Wouldn't think so if they're required to connect to the same service line. I mean, it's a tap to the main, so you wouldn't think so.
Yeah. I think the idea that we kind of approach it as it would be, you're doing a big addition onto your house, right? You're doing a lot of new plumbing and stuff. You just connect into the existing plumbing there. So this would just maybe be something that's detached from that and making those same connections.
On the current ordinance, the way it exists now, what kind of zoning allows consideration of
Currently, the way the code is today, it's just in the AR district for accessory dwellings that are related to employees. So just the ag district.
What do you think? I mean, not you, but maybe for the council. I don't mean to put you in a spot. What do you think might be the differentiation in the impact then of opened it up to residential?
Well, that's my question. I didn't realize it was to be opened up to the residential area. So remind me what kind of lot or area there is in R2. What's the minimum?
R2's lots are, if it's going to be a single family, I should just look it up. I'm going to say it wrong. Give me a sec. Because there's lot requirements for an R2 structure, but in this situation, you wouldn't be able to do that in an R2 structure. So it's going to be, I want to say 65 feet wide is the minimum lots width for a single family home.
So that's not really okay with me. I don't like that idea.
65, yes.
I don't like the idea of opening it up to residential. When we discussed this originally, I thought the discussion was.
I thought it was going to be a rural area.
Rural,
Yeah.
acreages, agriculture areas, whatever. And I'm fine with that. I'm not okay with having somebody build a separate structure on their 65-foot lot, another house. And I'm trying to differentiate that between, for instance, building a loft apartment on their garage. I don't really have a problem with that. I have a problem with a separate structure for a residence on a 65-foot lot. That's where my thought is.
I guess I find myself in the position of agreeing with her.
Ah, That's just because I said it first. You were gonna
You did.
say it, but I.
That's all right, you did a better job.
Okay. That's a very small lot.
Right.
Yeah. That's the only problem I have with it, I think, is the zoning area. I mean, if it was out in the in the agricultural area, I'd be on board right away.
So we'll address that at the next time.
I don't know how everybody else feels.
I agree. I don't like it on residential.
Sorry, Stephanie. I don't care if we address it at the next reading, but I'm not gonna approve.
No,
this.
at the next item.
Oh, at
This
the
is,
next
we're still in the,
item,
we're in the,
yes.
Oh,
we're
sorry.
still in the public hearing.
Understood. No, yes, understood. Okay.
All right. So you're saying for any residential, not even on the lower density, anything in between, no residential, only in the ag?
What about real estate?
What's the
lot width?
what's the minimum lot width?
Minimum lot width on rural estates is 125 feet wide and a minimum of 40,000 square foot total space. So we have,
That's what, 3 acres?
So 2
that's 1 acre, less than 1 acre, a little bit less. 43,560 is 1 acre.
So that might work.
I mean, that's like putting another house on my that's
Right.
putting another house on my property. No, I don't like it.
I don't
So,
either.
well, and I was just gonna ask, just visually, so are there, if you can think of some lots around town, so Silverado, that's rural estates, is there a thought that maybe on those size of lots, it would be acceptable?
For me, yes. I mean, I'm thinking,
Those are almost an acre,
aren't
two-thirds
they
of an
more than,
acre.
aren't
Yeah,
they more than that? Are they only
Most of-
2/3 of an acre? I
most
thought
of
they
them
were a couple
they're
acres.
I think
different.
most of them
They're
are
all
more than
different,
an acre.
but yeah, more than an acre.
Most of them are bigger than an acre.
For me, in my vision, I'm thinking at least 2 acres.
So probably Silverado then would be an example, so that's the rural estate. I'm trying to think of some other areas with larger lots, maybe not Legacy.
I mean, your other big lot development that's not rural estates would be Blooming Heights Plat 1 was, I think, platted as R1 100.
Right. And I'm thinking maybe some in Echo might have large enough lots.
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
one of the tricky things with that is like Echo is all R1, but then the lot sizes are big, right? You're a lot, in some instances, your lot size, your R160, the lot width is more used to determine what your side yard setback is than what you're actually going to build the subdivision as. So we've got a significant number at times of like Echo. Again, I think Echo is a great example of it. R160 zoned lots that then end up being 75, 85 feet wide because they wanted that 7-foot setback instead of having to do 10 and 8, say.
Do you think that instead of using the zoning district, that maybe it could be a lot size?
I cannot imagine looking out my rear, everyone shares their rear yard with several neighbors. And then to have a mini home here built in behind this house. So now I'm looking at 2 homes. I would not find that aesthetically pleasing.
I know somebody would
Wouldn't
be
like
all
that.
over that for a she shed.
A she
Well, but
shed
to
is
some
different.
extent, your accessory structure. So this is, this isn't allowing more usable space on a lot. For example, like just an accessory structure be the same type of thing.
You would still be bound to all the normal requirements of an accessory structure. So, you couldn't put so much in your backyard that then you had like no usable backyard anymore, right?
No,
So
but you said the minimum, the maximum square feet was 650?
Yes.
Is that what you said, right?
Yep.
Um,
and for an
That's, like.
That's a lot of your backyard if you're 61
Well,
feet
and it's
wide.
way bigger
Yeah.
than my she shed, right, which I don't have. but- That to me is just,
under the accessory structure, I was gonna do a big shed. I want to do a workshop in my backyard. the general rule of thumb is that it can't be bigger than the footprint of your house. So if you got 1,000 square foot house, technically you can have 1,000 or a 999 square foot shed. So, you know, we wanted to cap it because we didn't want double homes in there. So that was where the 650 came from. But I think what Luke Nelson was trying to allude to is our code does allow for sizable structures in backyards as long as they meet setbacks. It's just the type of thing they're allowed to be used for is not currently, and that's what this kind of starts to address.
So that's probably the part that I would want to make sure everybody understands that. So you take that 65-foot lot that you're talking about, Jackie, and you could put how many square foot garage in the backyard of a 65-foot width lot?
I mean, so let's say you're 15 foot for setbacks, so that leaves you a 50-foot wide house by 30 feet deep. You're asking me to do mental math.
So let's just say you could put a 24 by 36. I'm just thinking of a standard size garage.
Yeah.
Yes.
24 by 36, what's that, 700 square feet plus?
And that would be reasonable to expect to happen. People putting garages and stuff.
Right, now, what this ordinance is doing then is just saying, instead of parking a couple vehicles in that garage, you could use it as a dwelling unit.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it's saying.
I agree with you.
No more, I don't have any more questions in terms of the public hearing.
All right. So, Lindsay, have we received any oral or written comments on this item?
I haven't.
Okay, any other public comment on the item? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:41 PM. So item 8H is the first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinances of the city of Norwalk, Iowa to regulate accessory dwelling units. So this is the first reading and we can make some changes.
Yeah,
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so Luke, you said that the utilities will connect to the main structure, but the wording says that it's in front of me. I'm trying to find it. It says they may be permitted to connect to the utility lines. So is it a requirement or is it an option?
It's an option. I apologize if I misspoke in that. Normally, the code would say that everything needs to be separate. So typical code would say you can't connect this one to the services of the main property, the main house on the property. So the intent of number 10 was to provide someone the option to make those connections to the service lines house. I think our thought also with that was if you try to think of somebody realistically doing that, that's probably their best bet for actually providing service to that space is to connect it to the house's service as opposed to trying to find a way to get a service line out to the street.
So for the people who have been asking for these accessory dwelling units, is their ultimate goal to have an accessory dwelling unit that they can rent to a third party? To rent to or just to have a family member like parents or a child living in there? Or
So
what?
The applicant that applied for the BOA special use permit for an accessory structure was wanting to build it for visiting family. So it wouldn't be I think even a permanently occupied space. It was more a additional space for people that would come and visit. With that being said, though, that's a use at a point in time. And once you allow something to be built, that person sells their house and now I buy it and maybe I have different thoughts on that. So we've not specifically addressed, that ownership of and how someone would acquire that living space just because our zoning tends to not address that. We tend to not say you can't rent out your house, or you can't rent out this space, or you
Right.
can't rent out an apartment. So we've not addressed that in here. But so,
Because,
Yep.
so my view when I read this, which kind of tells into what Jackie was saying, if somebody is doing this because they want to become an Airbnb operator, then if they are out in a residential, agricultural area, I don't really care. But if it was to be in a residential area, I don't want to encourage a lot of building for accessory units for the sole purpose of renting for a second income. But if we limit it to not being built in residential in R1, R2, then I'm not as concerned.
I suppose if addressing the Airbnb concern would probably, I think we probably need to address that outside of the ADU ordinance. I think that'd probably be something you'd want to address kind of just wholesale in the zoning ordinance rather than targeting it straight at ADUs.
And
I'd have to do some
I-
research to see how other places are doing that, because I do think that's probably a use that you could regulate.
Well, I wasn't suggesting that we put any language in this ordinance. What I was saying is that I was okay with the concept of ADUs as long as they were in the agricultural area. Because if somebody was doing this for the purpose of becoming a, vacation rental area, then that's fine. But if it was to move to residential, which it sounds like we're going to change it, so maybe it won't be able to, then I had a big concern. So I was just wondering for the applicants who came in, I know we had one on the horse people. And then I was aware of the most recent one for family visits. I didn't know if there were any others that come in.
We've not had any other, that was the only request that we'd had that kind of spurred this discussion.
Okay.
We do have, there's one garage in the Founders District that I think through piecemealing of making their garage like nice for garage uses has kind of de facto turned into a more finished living space. And we've told that person thus far, like, you can't rent it. You can use it for your own personal stuff. If you want to put a TV out there and go hang out, that's completely fine. But you can't rent it out and use it as a separate dwelling unit. So
That was a mother-in-law's house at one point.
gotcha.
I do know the history on that one. That was somebody's mother-in-law that they finished their garage out for.
Which would have been illegal had they asked to do it.
Illegal mother-in-law, that's something.
Those
Mayor, my dad always used to tell me, he'd say, son, you should think about what could possibly go wrong here before you do something.
Yeah.
I didn't always listen to him, God knows. But I'm thinking to myself here, what could possibly go wrong? I don't like being in a position of telling people how they should use private property. Now, I understand that we've got to do that sometimes, because we've got to have parameters. But I don't think as a general rule, I want to regulate the use of private property unnecessarily, right? And I guess I'm wondering if I could get 3 votes from council members if we restricted this simply to agriculturally zoned areas. I would certainly support that. Sounds like 2 votes. Is anybody else inclined to vote that way?
Do you want to include?
I had said I would support it.
Thank you.
Do you want to include rural estates or not?
I would rather lot width limit rather than setting it to the zoning, if that makes sense.
Might be challenging though.
What if you have a wide lot, but it's not very deep?
If it fits the setbacks, you're gonna have to still work with setbacks. If it's not a very deep lot, you're gonna have setback issues.
I don't really want it I don't want it in my neighborhood.
Right, I think. that-
But your neighborhood probably has covenants on it that restrict some of that as well.
That's correct.
There's some of those neighborhoods that'll have those covenants rather than.
Right.
Some of them may not.
But some may not. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
this is a change from where we already are. And if we allow it in AR, I think it sounds like what most of us thought it was what we were talking about anyway, that's where I would like it to stay.
Okay.
It's not to say at some point we can't come back in the future and say, you're right, we want to expand it to rural estates. For now, I want it just AI.
Is this just a one reading deal because we're doing zoning?
No, it's a three.
Three.
Okay, all right, so we've got time.
Yeah, they're
So I guess I would offer this with modification that it applied to the agriculturally zoned areas.
Can I just make a couple more comments on it? Just, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't, because we've not really hit on this in the discussions. And partly because I've been attending our national planning conference, so it's got me all geared to go planning wise. Totally understand concerns about where these things are located and stuff. We wrote this, whenever we're given like an ordinance and a task to write something, we are going to take a pretty broad brush approach and then let you guys deliberate and cut things down. So that's what we're doing. That's great. I would throw out, and I do believe that this type of thing can help increase the affordability of housing in the community. It's not really been done around here, so it's certainly a scary thing. I don't disagree with that. But we have seen it done successfully in places, and maybe going wholesale in the zoning ordinance is a big step at this point in time. But it would provide those options. And those are things that a lot of communities and a lot of areas are looking at trying to do. It's things we used to do in city development just because it was allowed. You know, we regulated it out before we started getting into zoning. It was things that we changed. That used to just be something that you did. You had a mother-in-law that needed a place to live. You built her a place above your garage. And I believe we've seen it in some pretty small areas when we toured Iowa City's Peninsula District, where it was pretty successful on a small lot. So that's my pitch.
No, and to be clear, above a garage, I don't have a problem with.
Sure.
A separate dwelling, I have a problem.
Okay.
Can that be added to this part? I mean, that makes me
Okay with me.
adding that to it.
I guess the other thing I'd throw out is there's not a real big like, hey, we need to get this. Somebody's waiting for a project to get done. I think the one applicant would like to build her unit if allowed in an ag district, but if you want us to take a second crack at things, by all means, we can go back and modify things as we did with the temporary sales stuff.
So when you're saying that it's at least one person saying that on a second story or above the first floor, above a garage,
Yeah, like a loft on a garage.
is that something that others are interested in to try and figure out if there's a way to pull that into a few more districts?
That's invisible.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an objection to that.
Are you saying an attached garage or a detached garage?
Either.
Frankly, I'm not, right, I'm not really differentiating. To me, I suspect I know where that potentially goes, but I'm thinking an existing garage. Right, not because I can build a
Right.
garage in my back, so I'll build a garage and
For an
a loft,
apartment.
right? I'm thinking an existing garage, whether it's attached or not. I don't know.
But Luke, didn't you say we could handle that kind of situation through a special use permit?
The addition we could, because you'd be going over the height requirement, we would still need
Right.
to write something that said that that space could be used as a dwelling.
So Luke, do you want us to go with what we have today and then by limiting it and then come back later with the accessory or the ADU on top of the garage piece at a separate one? Or do you want to try to wrap it all into one?
Well,
How about the garage?
essentially, sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
interrupted.
No, go ahead.
Because David Lester, what you're getting at is if the vote is no on this ordinance, it dies, it's done. But if the vote is yes to move forward with those changes, then Luke Paris can work on some changes and bring back that modification.
Yeah,
for next
we
week.
can modify it
Or-
for the next two readings.
Or we could table it and send it back for further work.
Yeah.
I think I figured out the garage thing. You had me perplexed there for a minute. I absolutely would not want the garage in a 65-foot wide thing, but I could go with that whole garage idea if it was like 125 or a rural estate. And that's,
So Brian,
it's hidden, it's invisible.
Okay.
Brian, I would point out, so like my lot, I know is not a 100-foot lot, but I've got a large garage that would fit, that I could take the back portion of it and put something in like this. I'm not going to. I'm just
Right.
I'm not going to. And it's because when my house was built, it wasn't required to have attached garages. And so I've got a detached garage. So that's where I don't know that I want to restrict it to the point and say no to everybody. That's why I've got my hesitation a little bit, is because we've got quite a few older neighborhoods that have detached garages that this would fit in.
Those are existing and everyone knows they're there when they move in. So there's nothing new.
I think something we could do if you wanted to table it and there's just concerns on like, what does it look like in these things? I can probably work with Elliot and we can probably find some lots in town and show you what this would look like if it was built on top, what it would look like if it was built in a backyard on a 1 acre lot, a 2 acre lot, a 55-foot lot. You know, we can drop that stuff in and just give you guys some visuals to see what things might look like. We might even be able to go out and snap some pictures and kind of try to Photoshop something in to show what it actually would look like from the street at that point.
I guess the concern I got is if we say, okay, you can build a garage in your backyard like that, right? And go ahead and stick an apartment on top,
Yeah.
right?
You're pretty much saying okay at that point.
Yeah, you might as well just leave it alone.
And you'll do something tasteful and present a very nice thing, but we are legalizing anything at this point.
Right.
You are not showing us the minimum. You will show us a nicely thought out plan.
I mean, I can find a junky one and put it on the thing if you prefer. I guess my response to that would be, the minimum set by our nuisance codes and our property maintenance, and that would equally apply to accessory structures.
I
So
think we should vote on the rural setting, and then we can come back and change something if we want to on the second or third reading.
I think we're going through a lot of work to get around not doing a rural setting and getting the exact same thing. So I would agree with Ed.
Okay.
That's two of it.
I know, that's weird.
So can I motion it that way?
Motion for AR.
An adjustment to AR or amendment to AR.
Okay.
And
I would
that's it.
second that.
So the motion is to approve first reading of the ordinance as amended to only allow in agricultural reserve.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
If I could say one thing.
Yeah.
On the sewer connection thing, look at chapter 9505, you might need to amend that in our code. And is that related to a DNR requirement?
we'll look into that.
But that probably won't apply in a rural zone, would it necessarily?
Well, it's a shared sewer. Basically what 9505 says is that
Septic tank.
every residential structure, every structure made for human habitation, where there's a sanitary sewer available shall connect directly to the public main.
Okay.
And not a shared main.
Okay, so if there is one out there, we have to make sure that everybody's hooked up.
Yeah, that's what that code says. So we would
Thank
need
you.
to amend that code if we can, and I don't know the answer whether that's, usually those are coming from a DNR requirement or something like that.
I think our thought process with that, because reading that, we did take a look at that, was it'd be more analogous to an apartment that
Yeah.
had shared services throughout the building and then made a connection out to that, right?
I think it's just a Norwalk code thing. I got a head shake from a sewer expert in the back of the room. That said it's not a DNR requirement, so.
Okay, so
Okay,
motion by Cool, second by Baker to approve first reading as amended. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Lester,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Reva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8I is a special event application, Norwalk Lions Club 4th of July fireworks. So this item is to approve the Independence Day fireworks display that the Norwalk Lions Club sponsors. Lions Club does a great job running this event, and the city appreciates the club putting on this event. So can I get a motion to approve the special events permit for the Independence Day fireworks?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Livingston, second by Cool. Lindsay, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reva,
Yes, sorry.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
I'm not voting on this one, sorry.
Yes. He's
Sorry.
abstaining.
abstain.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I do.
All right. All right, motion carries. Item 8J is resolution approving the final plat of Twin Lakes Plat 4. So this plat, just outside of the city limits in Twin Lakes, which is just to the east off of 80th. This is a plat where I think we first had a bridge and now we don't have a bridge. Is that right, Luke?
Yes.
All right, Luke and Wayne, how does everything look out there?
Yeah. Subdivision for 8 lots. It's on a private street. It's in the county. This is part of our 2-mile review authority, completing out the development. So it's kind of the last phase there. So really no issues from us.
Do the streets in this, are they the same width as the last time we had one of these? We went through a big dissertation last time about street width. Remember that?
Yes. I think what it came down to is they were going to put in, was it a 22-foot street, but leave in right away to be able to go to full.
Right,
To a city.
to the full width.
Yes.
Did they do that in these, you know?
It's a 60-foot right of way, which is standard.
It looks like it's on, it does look like it's on the drawing that it's there.
It says there underneath Boston Trail, 60-foot wide, private road,
Private road.
public
Okay.
utility, water.
So that would be,
Yep.
that would be the same as they treated it last time.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And this time without the bridge, they don't have the width issue because the bridge was the width problem, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes.
Yep, I think you're right, David.
All right. So any other discussion, questions, comments from council? Or any public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and by Lester, second by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Reva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8K is a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Center North Estates. So this plat is our first infill, correct, Luke?
Yes.
Yeah. It's located just across North Avenue from the library. Luke, do you want to walk us through this one?
Sure. Again, the corner of North and Center Street across from the library, being developed in accordance with that Center North PUD that we approved as our infill PUD. Existing home, yellow house there will be torn down. This plat is creating 5 lots, 4 that face North Avenue and the 5th that faces Center Street. The plat meets the proposed setbacks for everything. There's no infrastructure that's needed for the plat other than the service connections that they'll make, which I believe they are connecting under North Avenue on the north side.
Can you scroll to the next drawing on that? Can you explain why the houses look like they're in the middle of North Avenue on that drawing?
Those are driveways, I believe.
Why are they going across North Avenue?
No, they're not driveways. Is that may be the extent where they're making the cuts on North Avenue to make the service connection?
Right.
Yeah.
The new North Avenue.
Trying to read the notes on this, but it's all blurry.
Says remove existing concrete and asphalt, replace with asphalt overlay. I think you're right.
Yeah, so it's how they're gonna make those connections
For sanitary
for sanitary and
and
water.
water.
Water's on the north side, they'll probably bore, they can bore the water in.
Yeah, because they'd have to come underneath.
Yeah, that's a good question. How does that affect the integrity of the road that's there?
They'll have to just do street patching on it. That's, you'll see that, actually, this, I thought they were gonna do I wonder if you are right now that I think about this. They were gonna do run services from each home to be close to each other and run out and do one patch for 2 homes and do one patch for 2 homes. So this isn't what I recall seeing before. More, yeah, they're gonna minimize the amount of cuts in the road. I thought they were gonna do 2, just because it is not good for your road to have, just more patching in it.
Well, those are going to create a lot of cracks too, right? Where in the winter, water's going to get in there and freeze and start breaking it up pretty quick.
It could. And we'll have to make sure keep it sealed up.
I am checking to see, Wayne, I'm wondering if the plan from that went to P and Z that was gonna be updated with that didn't get included in the resolution packet.
Concrete, gonna replace it with asphalt.
I'm guessing concrete underneath.
They're gonna do, right now it's concrete with asphalt overlay. They're gonna put concrete back, from what I understand,
ECC and asphalt overlay.
the existing.
They have submitted, and maybe we want to make a statement in the resolution approval here. I can share my screen here. An alternative, you need to stop sharing your screen, Luke.
Oh, you can just take it over.
It won't let me because
Oh.
you're doing it. It says I can't. Okay. So this is what Wayne was referencing. Apologize. I don't think I can rotate it. But North Avenue is kind of the middle there. Those services kind of coming together and then 2 patches.
Okay.
It's on the Zoom. This is just on the Zoom.
I'm pulling it
Oh,
over.
thanks, Luke.
That's fine. Sorry.
So that's the actual proposal.
Yes,
They've updated.
that is what Wayne had requested and they had resubmitted that. So I guess if you just amend the resolution, I apologize, that didn't get on that submittal for the actual packet. But I think if we reference the alternative sanitary sewer service plan in the approval of that resolution, we'll make sure we get this document to Lindsay for inclusion in the final.
Any other discussion, questions, comments from council? Yeah.
Just a point of clarification, just to make sure it's clear. This is the revised one that was submitted after the other one, so the developer understands that this is
Yes,
what is being approved.
this is what they've submitted as an alternative as a response to Wayne's comments about trying to minimize patching.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. All right, any public comment?
Motion?
All right, so
Second.
motion to approve resolution is presented in the packet with the alternative sanitary service plan.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay, so
Next.
second that. All right, so motion by Livingston, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8L is a resolution approving the site plan of 810 Main Street. So this plat is being done so they can rock in an area behind 810 Main. Luke, you want to walk us through this one too?
Sure. property at 810 Main, we were notified that they were placing a large quantity of rock at the rear of their property. So our staff, concerned that they were creating a gravel parking lot, asked them what they were doing. And it turns out they were wanting to do some landscape space in their backyard. So we mentioned to them that, well, they need to have a site plan amendment to be able to do that. So we've worked with them to kind of understand what they're planning to do. Did get some affirmatives from them that they're not planning to park vehicles back there. The rock that they've used is a river rock that's not a pavement gravel, so it's more of a drainable rock. So if it was going to be somewhere somebody parked that's not a suitable material, regardless of what code requires. And they did mention they'd put up some signs and stuff saying no parking back here. On the site plan, you can see the extent of where they were proposing putting river rock and then some mulch and shrubbery along the edges. We had our engineer review their proposal, and I think their comment was to put filter fabric underneath that rock so that everything would continue to drain appropriately. The rock itself should be a fine drainable rock. So there shouldn't be issues with impervious surface, though the property owner is responsible for ensuring that in the long term.
So are they gonna leave the trailers back there?
That I do not know.
What is it going to be used for?
The use of the property as a landscaped area.
So my question is you keep saying that they plan to do, or have they already done it?
I know there's a significant amount of rock back there right
And
now.
spread. I looked at it
That's
today
been
when I
spread
came.
around. I don't know how much they haven't finalized. But it is a little bit of we're taking you through the process 75, 80% of the way through.
If the trailers are there, it's a parking lot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that'd be my concern, but I don't know, other than after the fact, how you. I mean, if they want to rock their lawn, they can rock their lawn as far as I'm concerned.
But if the
But-
tra- sorry. Go ahead.
All I was gonna say is, but if they start using it as a parking area, then we're just gonna have to see it as an enforcement action. I don't know how else you do it.
And if the trailers have been there all along, and I don't know, but if the trailers have been there all along, what difference does this make? I mean,
Well,
if they want to change the material they put in their yard, I don't understand really
It
why
ends
they
up,
care, as long as it's not to make it.
it's a really fine line because typically you can park trailers and things in your rear yard. In fact, that's one place you can park them.
Right.
And you can park them not on pavement in the backyard. We say you have to park on pavement at the front of any structure. So in that instance, parking those trailers on River Rock, I suppose would be allowed. But then at some point, though, it does trigger over into, no, that's a parking lot. You can't use it like that. It's got to be paved. You have to meet the requirement of our parking code.
Right,
If
but
you're-
it's one thing when patrons are parking there, right? And-
Yes.
And these are their trailers that they have on, I'm
right.
not saying I like it a lot, but I'm saying these are their trailers that they have on their property. If they start allowing patrons to park back there, either for them or the bar next door, then I think that's an issue. But I don't know that
Right.
I see allowing them to put this new substance down on their ground changes what they're already doing.
I would agree.
And that's probably what you stated would be probably where we would draw that line.
Right.
Whether there was rock there or not. I mean, if some
Yeah.
people just started parking back there on the grass, we'd say, you can't do that. So.
All right.
Okay.
Any
I'm
other-
just curious. I don't know what businesses, what trailers are, what trailers?
So that's probably they sell, they sell t-shirts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah, Norwalk shop.
Norwalk shop building.
That's the Norwalk shop? And they have a trailer?
The trailers are probably tied to the construction business that's up above.
Yeah, that's probably.
Right, Allegiant Homes or something?
Or both.
Or both.
Trident Pools, they run 3 or 4 businesses out of that.
As long as they know they can't park on the rock.
Yeah. And like I say, if they do, then we just have to enforce it.
So the parking is my concern because it's a building that has no parking already, and I just feel that that's where it's headed, is to become their parking lot.
Well, that's my fear as well.
Right, I would say that's probably exactly what it's gonna be.
Well, just have to keep an eye on it, Is there,
Do you
is
think it's
there-
really a good use of time to have to keep an eye on it?
Yeah, but they can do it. They can park there now. I mean, that's not that they can, but the structure of it is that they could park there now if they wanted to without the change of the landscaping.
Right.
Mhm. Right, so I don't know why they're changing the
Trailers,
landscape.
I'm talking vehicles,
I know, I
not their
understand.
patrons, but them.
Right.
Right, but what I'm saying is whether or not they put down this river rack doesn't make it more or less likely, in my opinion, that they or their patrons will park back there. I think the enforcement is the same either way.
It's too bad they don't make it a parking lot, actually, but they'd have to pay them.
Okay.
So,
So do we have any public comment on this? Anybody? Or any further discussion from, or discussion questions from council? Anybody get want a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
I'll second it.
All right, I got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Motion by Livingston, second by Cool. Lindsay, you want to call a roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes,
Cool.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. 8M is a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Legacy Circle Villas Plat 3. So this plat is located on the east outside part of the circle. We had Hubble in an earlier meeting asking about a rezoning of this area. Luke, I think you're up again, or I see Joe and Steve might be on the line too, if they want to.
Sure, I can set the high points, and then if you got questions that you'd like to ask of them, I do believe they are both on the line. Again, this is the preliminary plat for the Circle Villas area, the townhome and villas portion of the rezoning that we did. The other portion of that was the center circle senior apartments area. So this is again a mix of R2 single family or R2 two family homes along Colonial Circle, similar to what's going on existing Sawgrass for the other portions of the circle, and then a more single family villa product that is on, I believe I've termed that Legacy Drive through the center of the site. There's a pedestrian access that provides access from Colonial Circle back to the east to the commercial properties. So that'll provide that pedestrian connection through there. The street situation, Sawgrass remaining private street to mimic Sawgrass, the rest of the circle around. And then the new Legacy Drive being a public street on a reduced right-of-way cross section. Other than that, the rest of public infrastructure is pretty standard as far as water and sewer service, storm sewers, or stormwater detention handled on detention basins on the north and south side of the development. Only other thing I guess I'd mentioned is as part of this discussion at our previous meetings, we talked about the drive aisle going back north to Colonial Parkway at the True Bank area, and Hubble has been working with True Bank. We received a letter from Keith, the president of True Bank, giving them the go-ahead to realign that drive by moving the median to the east. So they are working on that. I know that was one of the things we discussed as part of this.
Excuse me, Luke, you talked about that area then right behind True Bank.
Yes.
That access road that
Yep.
we just put all the way through.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Good.
Yep.
Good thing.
Yeah, and so that's not, those details aren't shown on this because it's not the extent of this project, but I know that was one of the things we talked about. And so Hubble been working hard to get that to happen as they move forward with things. So
What about the crater that's in the approach when you first turn onto that road? Is that getting fixed?
I'll have to defer to our Hubble
I'm
experts
looking at you,
on
Hubble.
that side.
Looking at you, Joe.
Other than that, as far as the subdivision itself, that's kind of the gist of it. Again, meeting the setback requirements that we set forward from the PUD, so no real concerns there.
Okay, so how did we end up just asking on these, like Legacy Drive and the other Sawgrass there? Are those both public streets or private streets, or how do we end up?
Sawgrass is private, continuing with the kind of Sawgrass being private around the rest of the circle, and Legacy Drive is public.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion from council?
Yes, Brian or Paris, was there any discussion in planning and zoning about reducing the right of way on a public street, especially since there are so many units there? I mean, just for snow plowing, what's going to happen with the snow? Are there any problems with that?
There wasn't a real big discussion at P&Z about that. I know Wayne from Public Works, we did have a meeting with Hubble talking about that reduced right of way. I don't recall if it's shown. We talked about doing a snow easement at the front of those lots to at least help delineate that there's going to be snow storage across the front of that. You know, it's not the most ideal public street in the world. I think if from my standpoint, and I think probably Wayne's standpoint, if it was private, we wouldn't be too sad about that. But we also understand we understand we understand council's opinion on that, and that's what we've worked with Hubble to accomplish in this situation.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Joe Petrosinski here, Hubble Realty Company, 6900 West Town Parkway in West Des Moines. In terms of the right-of-way and snow easements, this is all professionally managed. And we worked with your Public Works Director to accommodate the right-of-way standards through an easement on top of the reduced right-of-way so that we could accomplish the same things. It is a tight area, as you know, and normally this would be a private section, but we want to accommodate the public nature of the road if people cross through, build it to urban standards, and work very hard to do that. So we're excited to get going, and it did not come at P&Z, but we did pay special attention to it when we worked with staff.
Okay, so public street, probably won't be any street parking.
Go back to the drawing if you could show where street parking is. You can fit street parking on one side of the street. It is wide.
Okay.
Car.
Okay.
Between those
And
drives,
then,
you can fit a car between those drives.
okay. And then I was just curious when this concept first came up that I thought members of the Planning and Zoning Commission were looking for a little green space park area, maybe behind the dentist office. And I see that there's a detention basin. But is that answering that question, or are we relying on the parkland that will be built in Colonial Circle, in the circle?
Is this Council Member Riva? I can't.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Council
You
Member.
can't see me speak.
Sorry. If you look down to the lower left, to the left of the detention basin by the clinic, you're right. Directly across, we can't meet stormwater requirements without maximizing that basin there. But to the left of the basin, to the west, there could be a green area all the way to the west. They didn't make that part of a recommendation. It was something that was talked about, but never given specific direction. The area with the sidewalk that links up to the center of the circle. That is all great common green area going north and or going east and west.
Okay. And you still do have a plan to put parkland in the circle?
Yes, that is required of the master PUD for the legacy.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question for Wayne, I guess. Do you think that this will be adequate and workable for the snow removal that you're going to be doing?
It makes me very nervous. This is the smallest right of way that I've ever participated in. We had 50 feet right of way up in the village. Can't remember what it's called. The village that I go. They're proposing 45 here on Legacy Drive. That would be the public road. They did add a 5-foot snow easement, which I told Joe and Caleb in the meeting. To me, the easements mean nothing. People treat them like their yards. You know, the easement, it's not right away. It's not the same to me. It's different. Trying to be cooperative. This is a small stretch. We can see how it goes. When I was adamant at the meeting, this can't be the standard. I don't want to do. I'm not Luke. You know, he likes the variable stuff. I don't. You know, it just causes problems. We get the complaints from people. I'm nervous about it.
To speak to that, this also is a managed association. Whereas if you're a single family home, what happens, and if you look down the street, if you go down south, I'm sorry, the name of it's slipping my mind, is a Bristol. The city comes through with their plows, and then we have to go back and maintain driveways twice. We normally will get our driveways done. The city plows back the drives, and we got to go out there and move snow again. Even in these tight standards, we're going to be doing that twice in every snowfall. So in regard to snow removal, not only is the city going to run a plow down Legacy, they don't have to. We can come to agreement with the city that we just move it. We're more than fine to do that. But in the event that the city moves a plow down there, we're moving it and handling that snow on every occasion. Association living is different than if it was a single family home and each individual person's plowing their own individual drive.
And I'm sorry, go on.
So I was just going to follow up on my other question. So in that right of way then, or not right of way, but the access area, in your association rules, I would take it that there wouldn't be any structures in that area then, I mean, within that distance, right?
No, this is just driveways only.
Okay, because otherwise that could be in the road. That might be an interesting thing though, to see if there'd be a way to negotiate with Hubble to see, or that association to see if they'd be willing to clear the snow from that street.
We're already doing it on Sawgrass. The pass down the road is not a big deal. If that's what the city wants, that's easy.
I don't know. I mean, that'd be, I guess that's a discussion maybe for another day, but the concept maybe ought to be explored.
Stephanie, did you have something else you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I was just wondering, again, in connection with snowplows, I know that we have smaller trucks we can use, but are there going to be, these are going to be cluster mailboxes, right? So the snowplow doesn't have to dodge 70 mailboxes?
Correct.
Okay.
Joe, can you help me understand the entry into the development? Most of the pictures that we have kind of cut off. And so is it the same drive that one accesses that through like behind True Bank? Or is it a separate access point? I just don't have a good understanding.
There is no access to the commercial with vehicle access at all. The access through True Bank is completely separated.
Okay.
The only access that will connect up is pedestrian walkways.
Okay, thank you.
Are you planning on putting some speed bumps on Sawgrass?
We certainly can, but the nice thing about Sawgrass, if you see Colonial Meadows, see that median there?
Yeah.
So when you're traveling with a vehicle, you cannot make a left-hand turn in here. So it completely deters any kind of public access through here. If you're
Yeah.
coming from the other way down Colonial Circle, you wouldn't want, you would basically make a turnaround movement. There's no reason why anybody would go through. We can certainly add speed bumps, but the Colonial Circle median in itself is a big deterrent.
I thought we had plans showing that, Luke. Do you recall that?
I think we discussed it, but what Joe had mentioned, I think, was what their solution was to trying to slow people down there, was that it was solved by the geometry of Colonial Parkway. Though, as Joe mentioned, they were willing to do that if the city desired it.
Pouring in a speed bump's easy. It's not an issue for me if you want it, but Colonial Circle, that's a big impediment to any kind of local traffic.
Let's see how it works, and if it doesn't work well, maybe we'll have you come back in and put some speed bumps in.
Yeah, we've done it in the past. We'd honor that, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, well, we got you on the line. You know that the street surface there on that access road, that I understand you're looking at moving that island now, which is terrific. I appreciate that. But that really needs a lot of attention.
We don't own that and control that, but it certainly does. We did talk with the bank that when we're out there, it would probably a good idea for a contractor to fill that in.
Okay, does the bank own that?
It's people in the corner who have control over that. True Bank is.
So whoever owns the Medicap building.
Yeah, the owner of that building controls that property, but.
Okay.
But when we talked about this before, Joe, you told me that you would get it fixed.
The drive access behind True Bank,
No,
we can fill in that stuff. That's not a problem. I mean, but to restore it, I mean, you're talking mega money through there if you wanted to resurface.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about restoring it. I'm talking about repairing it.
Pothole repairs, another thing. That's relatively easy.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, discussion from council, or any public comment? All right. So can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
I'll motion it.
I'll second.
All right, motion by
Hold
Cole,
on.
second
Hold
by
on, Mayor.
Livingston. Any further? Go ahead. This is further discussion.
Thank you. I'm just looking, I swear this doesn't look like it's. Are we sure this is the current one in the plans or in the packet, Lou?
I can pull that up and double check as well.
I just want to make sure.
Make sure it's the latest.
Nope, that's good eyes.
Mayor, members of council, this is Caleb Smith with McClure. I was just taking a look here. The date of the plan should be read May 5th of 2021. These do look like a previous version.
Thanks, Caleb.
I apologize for that. We will make sure in the future that what happens sometimes is we get a minor adjustment between P&Z and council.
I just got these this morning.
All right.
So the one I'm looking at does show a speed bump. It shows a sign saying private drive, no through street on Sawgrass.
Can you send that to me?
Okay, so we could add that. Also, yes, I have a plan set that's May 5th, so I guess we will get that updated.
Well, then I guess we're putting the speed bump.
I guess you are, yes.
All right.
All right.
I'm not necessarily concerned about the speed bump, but I think there were some changes in the easements and ingress, egress, some other things in there that
did make it important. Okay.
Favorable changes there, right?
Favorable to the city?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the one we want to approve.
I was gonna say, you might need to amend your motion.
As per drawn on,
Latest version or something.
well, what's the date on that one? He told us to stamp. it.
May 5th.
May 5th,
May 5th.
as submitted via May 5th.
Okay.
oh, I'm not. I don't know what, didn't look and see what one we're looking at. Lindsay said the one we're looking at is the one she received today. It's not the one that Wayne's talking about. So I just
Right.
want to make sure we're talking about the same one that we actually want to approve.
Luke, can you share?
Yes. This plan set is the one that Caleb referenced. It's got May 5th down there in the corner.
And that's not the one in the packet.
That is not the one in the
Okay.
packet. The one in the packet is April 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, yeah, I second his May 5th.
So you re-seconded. All right, good, good, good.
Re-second to May 5th.
Second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? Thanks for finding that, Wayne. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8N is a grant match for Norwalk Rotary Club bike fix-it stations along the Great Western Trail. So Luke, I'll let you take this one.
All right, great. So
Don't forget to put it through Zoom.
oh, I gotta share. Thank you.
These are pretty cool.
All right, you guys can see. All right, excellent. So I actually get to represent Rotary and the city on this request. And since I don't vote, it's okay for me to ask for money and be on both sides, right? There are a couple fix-it stations. This was proposed by our Rotary Club here in Norwalk. We've been thinking about ways to try and promote the new Great Western Trail. The fix-it stations that show up on that image show how a bicycle is attached there. There's a few tools that are tethered to that upright, some common use tools. And there's actually an option of a fix-it station without the bicycle pump, although it seemed to make common sense to a lot of us that that's probably a pretty critical item to have. Although that makes the cost of the fix-it stations about double.
Just for a pump?
Yeah.
Is it electric?
No, I don't think so. I think it's. So the critical part of this, other than the dollars, would be the locations of those fix-it stations. Justin Ernst with Bolton and Mink, the managing engineer of the trail project, made contact with a contractor and asked if they could make some adjustments to the same contractor that's out there doing work. Hey, if they could just pour a couple concrete pads where selected, that would make a lot of sense. He threw out a few locations, which is location number 1, 2, and 3. There's a couple issues with location 1. And then I described kind of some of the other locations, positive, negatives, as opposed to that being something to burden council with. I thought that maybe the Parks Department, along with some communication with the police department, might be able to come up with the best locations for those 2 fix-it stations. But if council has preference, in the alternatives down below, I said either if you want to choose a location or leave it up to Park, that's up to you. The budget for this project is included. We're going after a $5,000 grant from the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Club ourselves will be putting in $1,000, along with, I don't show the labor value in kind, but I can tell you that when we do this grant, there's usually like a 1-to-1 match. So we anticipate ourselves going out there and putting in volunteer hours to mount those fix-it stations. So it's not just the dollars we're putting in, it's labor as well. And we're looking for a up to $2,000 match from the city. If there doesn't have to be any curbing installed, that would bring that number down. Are there any questions?
So how are you at bicycle repair? Oh, no, you're doing the installation. You're not doing, all right, okay, all right.
I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah, any other questions? For Luke? Can I get a motion to approve the $2,000 grant match to the
Motion.
Norwalk Rotary Club?
Sorry, I didn't jump in quick enough.
You want a second, David?
I'll second it. Yeah, but then can I talk for a second or two?
Sure, go for it.
Um, so, so this is me being a touch selfish, but Luke, I would tell you that I like spot 4 down towards Elizabeth Holland Park as one of the spots. And I like spots 1 and 2 just because of the use of it up by the trail up there. I think that's just my 2 cents on those spots. I wanted to share that being a little selfish, putting it right in Norwalk at 4 makes a lot of sense to me. So that was my only comment. I love the idea. I think it's great. So thank you.
I kind of agree with David on 4. I'm not sure I agree with him on 2. As I think about that road and the hill, the climb, I'm not sure that 2 is a great spot. 1, I get that it could at times be some odor issues, right? Is that the uncomfortable question?
The number 1, yes.
So for me, it would be 1 or 3, because 3 is kind of downhill, kind of leveling out. I think 2 is problematic in terms of the topography.
Now, I do remember Justin telling me that number 2, he did pick that location because it was more flat. And it was limited, but a little bit more flat.
I don't disagree that there are spots in that road that are a little flat, but overall, it's a climb.
Gotcha.
And so to get off 3/4 of the way of my climb, even though it's a little flat, I don't know. I'm not that strong a biker. So it makes,
Start the climb again would be tough.
yeah, so it makes sense to me to put it like at 3, which is a kind of more of a natural, almost stopping point, because it's so close to the cross anyway. Whatever, you guys will figure it out, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
I guess I would leave it to Park and Rec with those cautions, maybe.
I guess we didn't really clarify that in the motion, but
That's true.
maybe clarify that in the motion if you want that. And those are,
I'm fine with Park and Rec figuring it out.
Mhm.
It wasn't my motion, but I'm fine with
Thanks.
All right. So I got a motion by Cool, second by Lester. Lindsay, would you call a roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah,
Livingston,
that. Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8O, resolution approving quote with Central Iowa Fencing for the Mackinac Sports Complex renovations. So Park and Rec is looking to put in permanent fencing for the 2 adult fields at Mackinac. Robin, it looks like this is in conjunction with the Twins grant we applied for. So can you explain the project and the funding?
Yes, so originally when we applied for the grant, the quote that we received was back in February of 2021. We were approved for the grant. We executed the agreement. We contacted the company to order the fence, and the cost of steel has increased significantly. So that is why that's where the increase in the project comes from. So there were 2 things that we were doing with this project. One was to replace the pitching mounds, and the other was to put permanent fencing in the outfields of fields 5 and 6. The cost for the pitching mounds did not increase. That remained the same as the quote that we had from February. But unfortunately, steel increased $5,364. So it is over the $15,000 threshold. So I have to come to you guys for approval to move forward. I am not asking for additional funding. It is in my budget. It will come from the park improvement budget because the pickleball court project will cost us less than originally quoted because we are going to do some of those features in-house. We are going to install the shade structure and the benches on our own. So that will give us a cost savings on that project, which will help us take care of this.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion or question from council? Or public comment? I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Lester, second by Baker. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
I want to use this as a perfect example of an upcoming change with one of our financial policies. At one point in time, we had brought forward the policy that changed the amount that the city manager can authorize for a purchase of what somebody can cover in their budget. That amount currently is $15,000. This is the perfect example of one that was just over that. So the only difference in that purchase policy is that, for example, this project could have been authorized by the city manager without coming to council. We're proposing to bump that up to 50,000 as opposed to 15,000. It's been that amount for a long time in an effort just to streamline more of our operations. Now, I know there were some concerns, so this is a good example just to see kind of where that threshold, where that difference is at. And please understand that from my perspective, it wouldn't hurt my feelings one way or the other. It's just kind of an overall government efficiency on some of those smaller dollar figure items just to be able to handle at a staff level. So no action needed on that. I just wanted to give you a perspective on what that would look like.
Thank you. Item 8P, the third reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk, Iowa to regulate temporary sales. This is the third and final reading to approve the ordinance to regulate temporary sales within the city limits. Luke, do you got anything else to add?
I just want to run through kind of what we changed again. Talking about the temporary storage being located in a manner to minimize its view from arterial streets. So we've got that included in there. And in addition, did also want to give one of our other vendors an opportunity to chat with council real quick. Jim Henter is here from Bellino Fireworks. We've been communicating with all of our vendors on what these changes are going to be as we get them squared away with permits for the upcoming year. One of the things that we let Bellino know is that the inflatable gorilla doesn't meet our sign code. So this isn't necessarily a temporary sales thing, though we want to provide them the opportunity to chat with you because I think we could address that in this ordinance if we needed to. The temporary sign does allow for an inflatable sign or an inflatable gorilla if we determined it was a sign, which we have. So we can issue that to allow for something that the problem is the size. Our maximum size of the sign is 80 square feet. So you're talking something that's 8 by 10. We kind of reasoned that you would take the width of an inflatable by the height, and that's kind of where you would get your square footage rather than trying to do some kind of volumetric measurement. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to Jim. I think he wanted to give you some perspective on Bellino's standpoint. He and I had a good discussion about kind of one of their kind of viewpoint on it and just kind of the importance for their stand that they run. But ultimately, I don't get to make that decision. I have to tell them no because that's what our code is. So.
All right, so name, address first, please.
Jim Hunter, J. Fireworks.
Excuse me, Lindsay, I can't hear the gentleman.
Yeah.
Here.
No.
Or actually, this might be easier.
Hey, we're getting him a new mic. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that cord will stretch over there to the table. Excuse me. There you go.
Let me start over. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. Basically, I want to talk to you a little bit about our inflatable gorilla. It is kind of a keystone of Bellino Fireworks, has been for years. Bellino is a 40-year-old family fireworks company. And do think that, there's an opportunity in the temporary signs to maybe address that with some special permission or special events. But we think, I'm going to read you, we have a great operator that runs that tent. We've operated that tent in the hardware store since day one. Had the same operator there that does a fantastic job, we think, and does a lot of marketing. She's very active and strong in Facebook. And if I could just read a couple quotes that she sent me. Families love taking pictures with the gorilla. My Bellino Fireworks Norwalk, Iowa Facebook page has reached over 13,386 people with my regular post in the last 2 years. Anything from product specials to fireworks safety. We held a Name That Gorilla contest video post that single-handedly reached 11,858 people across the metro Iowa metro area and 52,000 views, or 5,200 views, excuse me. The gorilla attracts people and families to Norwalk, which in turn positively affects the economy. Removing it would negatively impact my business, Ace Hardware, Snow Cone, Coffee Truck, and the community. She does a great job of marketing. I would be hopeful that you might consider something, whether it's grandfathering in, someone that's had an inflatable for the last couple of years. But we think it's a great marketing opportunity. We bring in hundreds and hundreds of people. They take pictures in that, and folks like it. So we'd like some consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Can you make a smaller gorilla?
I've asked the owners that. They have never done that. Most of them have been the size that they are. I'm not saying they wouldn't. I've asked them in the past, hey, can we, for different situations, can we get one that's 15, 20 foot tall versus 30 or whatever it happens to be? I can certainly follow up on that.
Sounds like it might answer your dilemma.
Do you have this gorilla at every location?
No, we do not at every location. Some parking lots, a lot of places we won't have grass. So it needs a grass area to put it up. So if you're on a full pavement at a high V or a fairway, unless we have grass in the area, we try to have as many as possible. I would say, top of my head, 60, 70% of them, that allows that to happen.
Any other questions?
Do you have size problems in other locations?
Size as
The
far as
gorilla size problem.
not really. It's either kind of there's room for it with the grass and the space close by to the area that we're in, or we're completely on concrete or blacktop. It just doesn't make sense. We have to.
To your knowledge, or you haven't ran into like a city administrative problems where it violates a city?
There is a few. There are a few that don't.
How did you resolve it there?
We don't have a gorilla. And if we started out day one that way.
Sure.
So it's the fact that we've been here 4 or 5 years, and it does draw a lot of people. I get asked, where do I go buy my fireworks? And we send folks to here, and we tell them to bring their kids and grandkids and take pictures, and they do.
I personally like the big gorilla myself. But that's my personal opinion.
Well, there's one.
But if it doesn't sound like they've worked at resolving the issue in other places, and if they haven't made a smaller gorilla, they just haven't done a gorilla.
Right.
Yeah. My dilemma is the gorilla's cute. What happens with the precedent we set on the next one that comes in that I don't particularly like? But now how are we to treat it unfairly? We have sign sizes and everything for consistency and presentation. And I don't see a reason to deviate from that.
Well, you got a good point there, I think, Baker, but Jim, what would happen if we said, you know, we're not gonna allow big gorillas from this day forward, but because these folks came in under the wire, we'll allow big gorilla just for them.
It's a grandfather deal.
Yeah. Is that an enforceable thing, or does that put us in a position like Baker's talking about?
Was that, it was your interpretation during the gorilla as a result of an ordinance change?
No, so we can't grandfather something that was never legal.
So it was in violation to begin with, we just
Yes.
didn't know.
Okay.
Too bad.
What else you got?
So I guess my request or ask would be to consider grandfathering it in. That would solve your future issue as well.
Legal.
Thank you.
Sure.
I did type up just in preparation, if you want to consider something, bullet point that we could add to these existing bullet points in the temporary sales that would exempt a temporary sale use from having a size requirement for that. So if the concern was they might pop up everywhere and you wanted to kind of allow it in this, you could at least know that it was only going to be in conjunction with a temporary sale. It wouldn't open the floodgates for them anywhere at any time. So I've not written that as elegantly as I'm sure Jim would, so I'm sure he would consider it if we decide to look at it, but I've got it.
Or it opens it up for the gorilla, but what comes next, it would open it up for that as well.
Yes, you might have a fireworks tent that wants to do a giant dragon.
Unintended consequences.
So
What could possibly go wrong, as my dad used to say.
we would limit where it can go as we would with any sign. So there's setback requirements. I think I wrote in here that it has to be on grass. So, you know, trying to do some things to control some of that. But again, if somebody finds a spot that they can do something else similarly and they apply for that permit, we would approve it and let them do that in conjunction with the temporary sale.
Elegantly written.
Yeah. Any other discussion, questions, comments from council?
Yes.
Yeah. Go for it.
So I have a issue with one of the bullet points. Temporary storage, including the highlighted one. Temporary storage, including trailers, vehicles, and other enclosures shall be located in a manner to minimize view of storage containers. That is an incredibly vague term. And part of, I think what brought this about was a desire to eliminate from view those rail canisters and whatever else. This, in my mind, doesn't do that at all. Because to minimize the view, if there's no other encumbrance of the view, then putting it so that everybody can see it is as minimized as it can be, right? That doesn't, to me, resolve the issue.
Of course, it does allow some flexibility in there for the staff when they're doing their site inspection.
It does. And with
They
respect to
can
the
say,
staff,
hey, wait a minute.
you're right, but with respect to the staff, their interpretation last year of what several of us thought the ordinance says was very different. And so I just don't, I want to minimize the ability for interpretation, I guess. So that's my issue.
Well, it sounds like in the question of the big gorilla, doing, unless we change a past ordinance that's now in the books, there's just not a whole lot we can do about it. Is that pretty close?
Well, as far as minimizing the view. I mean, that's what we're doing.
No.
This is.
He's back to
No,
the
no, I'm
gorilla.
talking
Oh,
about
you're
the
back to the
gorilla.
gorilla.
I'm back to this guy's point. He asked us about the gorilla.
We would have to amend our temporary sign ordinance to somehow allow it. Probably.
Even though it'd be in violation of another ordinance that pertains to signage.
Well, that's.
Because we're creating an exception. And if we're creating an exception for the gorilla, then that would be there for anybody to use temporarily.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you could make. I mean, there's ways you could convert to be a special use permit under signs, and I mean, it could be a mess to do it. Involved and stuff like that.
Oh, it's a shame. I wish they'd make a smaller gorilla. I like the gorilla.
As do I.
I doesn't seem to be real practical for us to be able to do it.
No.
And I regret that, I guess.
All right. So I don't think we're going to be able to do anything with the gorilla. Or the located in a manner to minimize view of storage containers. What would you think a better?
I don't know what that contemplates. I guess I don't understand what.
Was that?
Because our discussion, I thought the last discussion we had was there weren't going to be these storage containers on premises.
This came about last
Last week,
meeting.
yeah.
I don't think you were.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And
So,
it was based, we made it vague to have more leeway. Because if you start saying, well, it can't be visible from here, it can't, well, then we've completely knocked it off of the site whatsoever. And then they talked about, and they had a whole discussion about why it was a safety hazard to not have, there was a number of reasons. I mean, we went to that minimized on purpose. And it is vague because we want it to be a case by case, be able to look at it, figure out.
Which I think is a huge issue. I personally think that's a huge legal issue. Case by I'm going to let you do it like this because from this vantage point it looks fine, but I'm not going to let you do it like that because from my perspective, or
Because the
a different
sites are
person.
different. The sites are different. The locations are different.
But that's not what that says, and that's not what case by case basis means. That's my concern.
Well, maybe my term for case by case was poorly used.
No, I mean, I don't know. I missed that discussion, so I don't know.
Based on the location of the tent is where you're going to put a storage container. And so where that storage container is going based on the location of the tent needs to be minimized from view from a major arterial.
Okay, what I'm thinking of is the one group in particular last year that I had an issue with. That was kind of back, maybe behind the chiropractor-ish.
Yep.
And they had their canister behind their, pop-up tent and table. And that was not, to me, what I envisioned. And so if this allows for that again, and that's my issue. That's not.
Yeah, it does not. Number one, from what my understanding is that we now have a better definition of what a tent is. Because a pop-up is not a tent. A tent has to have sides.
Okay.
And so, and it's that I think it's so that the storage can be separated from the tent.
A fabric tent with sides that may be raised or lowered. A traditional canopy cover is not considered a tent.
Yeah.
Okay, so a fabric tent with sides that may be raised or lowered. So when I raise my sides to get a nice breeze, and then right behind it, is the tent, is the canister. That doesn't
I think,
address my
I think
issues.
the canisters also that the location you're looking at, they were selling out of the canisters last year.
I understand,
Yeah,
I mean, we did this last year, but Luke and Elliot interpreted it to be that was okay. And it wasn't what I understood the ordinance to be, and it wasn't in my conversations with Stephanie, what she understood the ordinance to be. So I don't want to have that issue again.
So on that site, I guess I'll fall on the sword again with it. Like, that was a bit of a misstep on staff's part in approving what they were doing there. Because, so it wasn't necessarily that we interpreted the code wrong. It's just we, in transitioning from one staff to doing those review to the other, didn't realize that code required that. So we, in a perfect world, would not have approved that storage container last year. So on this year, when in talks with the gentleman that wants to locate that same site again, he understands he can't have that storage container there, plans to have a traditional tent. And then I think what he mentioned in our last meeting was, well, to us, if you're talking about minimizing view, we'll put our storage behind, like at the back of the building of the DeRocher chiropractor, right? So, you know, there's pavement behind there. They're saying that's where we'll put it to minimize storage. You know, in my opinion, I think that would work for that site. And I guess I can just run through what the plans for each remarks. They've all kind of talked to me up at the fairway spot.
Luke, my intent is not to micromanage you.
No, that's fine.
I'm not trying to bring this all back up again. I just want to make sure that what we all think we're saying and intending is what everybody understands.
Minimize view and, you know, the parking shall not negatively impact things are vague statements that are hard for our department to enforce. And
Yes,
so
exactly.
we will try our best to those,
Right, that just
but
made my
you know,
point.
they mean something different to everyone.
Right, that's my point.
They're not easily defined, and so.
I think one issue we're having with is yeah, it is vague, and there's other things that are vague as far as not adversely impacting parking. But it's hard to have exacts on this. I think we've got some of the temporary storage issues addressed because it's going to be identified on the site plan, so it's going to be controlled before it's ever located there. And I think also, as we recognize, that's the very nature of these types of sales. It's going to be hard, just like last year it is, to jump in and get some sort of injunction involving the judge and everything. You're talking about, you know, a week-long process. By the time you get it done, it's done. And so it's always going to be a work in progress. The way that we stop the generality of it is, and not getting, you know, is by going back to saying it's only going to be allowed in these zoning classifications.
Yeah, because
you know, we've chosen, unlike all other cities, and I'm not criticizing that because I think it's good, but there's an awful lot of cities that say industrial only.
Right.
And we can legally do that. And I would think that our regular vendors know that every year the city's going to review it. And if there's abuses or not listening to instructions of the city, you know, the council might make that decision in the future.
Well, I think the other thing you get into, if you set it up hard and fast and draws bright lines, right, is that you're going to begin to impact things that are not necessarily the temporary salespeople. I mean, you're going to begin to impact those businesses in here. And so you got to have an ability in there to try to make something work, to try to make an accommodation that's a reasonable thing. And I think that's what we were trying to do here. We were trying to find a reasonable accommodation that would work, realizing that if it's screwed up, that we're going to look at it next year and we'll probably change it, right?
So that was discussed a lot, that this is kind of the next incremental. We've been doing incremental changes. This is the next increment, and then we do it next year to see what the next increment is and how to.
And you know, if
Well,
that,
I would like to get to a point where we're not making changes every year, right? That would be my ultimate goal.
So
We can see what happens this year.
This is new
I,
to us.
I think to get to the point where we are not going to make changes every year, we need to just limit it to a particular zoning district and
Move it off the industrial area.
And I don't agree. I think that we can draft it in a way that we can be satisfied with. I am happy to see how this works this year.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Any other public comment? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the final reading of the ordinances detailed on pages 3 and 4 of the item in the council packet?
Motion.
Second.
All right. Sorry, Stephanie. Got a motion by Cool, second by Baker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Sorry about the gorilla. I like the gorilla myself too, but
I think you had an opportunity.
yep. All right. Item 9, council inquiries and staff updates. We'll go to Jim. Nope. David?
I was just gonna say that on the gorilla thing that I'm fine with it if you can limit its time up instead of being up for. So, just up to the rest of the council and staff that if you did it for like a weekend, I would be comfortable with a weekend, but not the whole time.
Yeah. Maybe next year.
Yep. Maybe next year.
Gorilla back. All right, Jackie.
Nothing.
Smaller gorilla.
Ed.
I don't have anything like that.
All right, Luke Paris.
No, I'll break the cycle, but just quick, April's permit numbers, 42 single family permits. That puts our total to 120, which is roughly half of what we did last year in the first third of the year. So we're on track if things keep going forward for at least 50% more, if not double permits from last year.
Okay. And that just amazes me considering the price of construction materials.
Does me too.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Luke. Wayne.
Couple things. The real quick, the EPA administrator, the head guy for the whole EPA was in town this week. He was out at the wastewater reclamation facility getting a tour and was impressed with the operation there. There's some positive PR from that. The DOT is divided into 5 districts throughout the state. We traditionally District 5. Luke, I don't know if you're going to give an update on this. I'm sorry if I'm
Please do.
interrupting, but there's been a change with regard to Highway 28 through Norwalk. We are now part of District 1's review authority through just Highway 28.
Right.
So that's been we've already had some positive interactions with the DOT District 1 regarding our future projects, ongoing projects. North Shore, they've been involved with that. Everything's been really, seems to be an improvement with communication and their willingness to cooperate and try to help out. The last thing is home serve. There's another mailing going out early June, I believe, and should not be any Norwalk logo on it this time. So I think that'll help eliminate some complaints or reduce complaints.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Captain Porter.
I just wanted to inform the council that Michael Foods will be holding a pancake, not pancake, just a drive-through breakfast, the 4th of July at the fire station from 7 to 11. And it's going to be a free will donation, but then all proceeds collected, they are going to be donated to Hometown Pride. So we just want to let you know that's going to be happening.
All right.
Nice. The menu.
I don't, they're not asking us to do pancakes and sausage. It's all going to be products of theirs. So we're really just providing them some support, our equipment, and letting them use our
In a
facilities.
driveway.
I'm sorry?
In a driveway.
And driveway. And they're going to do in the same manner. If any of you came to the pancake breakfast, we're just going to drive through. They participated in that event. They liked how it ran. So they're going to do theirs in the same manner.
Cool. 4th of July breakfast.
4th of July breakfast.
That would be awesome. Will the driveway be done by then?
They're working on the front. They did not start on that this week. They told us they're supposed to start on Monday. So I haven't talked with the contractors again yet. They said it'll be a couple-week project.
What should be done?
providing on weather, so it should be, yeah.
Good deal. That'd be awesome. Anything else?
And that's all.
All right, thank you. Chief Staple.
The barcoding system in our evidence room that came as part of our records management system upgrade with Westcom served its purpose well. Today, we did a surprise audit of the room and we located three evidence items that were prescription pills that were missing. Turns out that they were destroyed and barcoded properly, but not removed by supplement from our system. And because of the barcoding system, it was really easy to figure out. So that was pretty neat. And secondly, I got a letter yesterday from the governor's traffic safety bureau. 18,000 is our grant amount this year, to be split 9,000 for aggressive driving and the other 9,000 OWI enforcement. So that's 3,000 more than last year.
Good deal.
2,000 less than, well, actually 1 year we got 24,000 total. But so anyways, that's all I got.
Cool, thank you.
Mayor,
Yeah.
have you updated council about the stuff, how you folks helped out the parks? Any issue
I
with?
did not.
Well, that's good.
We were made aware by Parks and Rec that some damage in the parks, particularly in the bathrooms. Through some investigative means, we figured out who did it. Got some admissions, got parents and kids on board, set them up with Robin, who will probably could speak to it further, to be handled with community service to Parks and Rec at the dollar value of the damage, $7.25 per hour, per person hour of service till the damage is replaced or made up for. So worked out well. All Public Works, Parks and Police all together figuring that out, getting the things repaired. Hopefully we've got the bathroom damage problem solved for a while.
And you did an inventory, making sure the doors are locking, you had an officer do that at night. That's
Good. Gene Kelly.
Good evening. Just wanted to let you know that I've been working really to determine what our plan is for our water and sewer and irrigation and recycling rates. We have our public hearing next week on that. We'll have information to you a week ahead of time. We also have our budget public hearing on the 20th. And I just wanted to say a few words about Lindsay as well. She, of course, does an awesome job as our city clerk. I'd put her up against any city clerk. But I just want to talk about how she goes above and beyond. She will work with the organization as a whole. And there isn't a project she won't take on. God, I'm glad I'm not there because I'm going to cry. I mean, she just will not, she will take the lead on so many projects and offers to help. And I just feel like she's the glue and she's so well respected and so appreciated.
Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome.
Let's not cry.
Thanks, Gene. Ollie.
Oh crap, now I'm crying. I don't cry. No, okay. No, Lindsay is awesome. Okay, I'll try to be quick here. Be quick. So first, the Cobblestone or the hotel at North Shore and the restaurant there is still moving along really well. They're down, they've received a few sort of final approvals through the DOT. They're down to their final layer of that, which it's funny to me that they have to have approval by 7 new bureaus or 7 additional bureaus. But anyway, they're getting really close to that. Once they're done with that piece, and they can move on to finishing up what they have with the landowner. So that's going very well. And then the Norwalk Central project, That's also moving along pretty rapidly at this point because we have all of the points and all of the parts necessary for the development agreement draft to get started with Dano. So we're moving into that phase. And then at the same time, we're also starting the PUD process. So those will move together at the same time, and we'll be able to make a lot of headway here in the next few months on that project. So the infrastructure maybe, hopefully could start sometime this year. And then with the sports campus, we've been really working hard between our internal city team, the sports complex developers, the landowners. Everybody's been working really, really hard to drill down on the details, Parks and Rec, exactly how much time and space the city will need, the facility layouts and concepts, cost. But as you all have heard here in the last, couple of weeks or months, that the cost of construction is just out of control at this point right now, especially for commercial. So, we're really having to take a harder look at how to either phase this a little bit or, just how we can make it financially feasible and still get everything that everybody wants. But we're getting close. We definitely have some options. So we hope to have some new kind of revised concept in front of you in the next month or so. But that's still moving forward. One of our largest companies in Norwalk reached out to talk about an expansion that they're planning here in this coming year that would double their square footage. So that would give them a building of over 300,000 square feet, which is amazing. Probably another 100 great jobs. So excited about that. Also, Michael Foods has been expanding internally. They've been adding new lines over these last few months. So that's very positive. You all saw today that we just announced Northern Lights Pizza. So they'll be going in next door to Jimmy John's, and they hope to open July or August. And that is a local person that's the franchise owner there. And then we have 2 other national restaurants we're working with, and we're really close to the letter of intent or a purchase agreement for the land for both of those. And we have a new floral gift shop that will be opening in the Johnson Orthodontics building, just north of Anytime there in that new building. And there's also a brand new chiropractic clinic that's just opened in that same building as well, called True Roots. And then we have the salon, the new salon that will be taking down the old Tacos Andreas building, which you know about because you just approved the rezoning. But that would be a great new, beautiful building. They're also applying for our demolition grant, so that will help with the cost of that. And then we have a few other older buildings being remodeled along Sunset this coming year. So that's all very positive. And then last, I would say, Luke Nelson, if you still have those pictures of the water tower, if you want to pop those up really fast. So this is just something I decided to copy from another city. Altoona, I almost said Ankeny. Altoona has a really cool water tower that's all lit up, super colorful. You can change the colors for different things happening in the community. So we reached out to the company that did the lights on our City Hall building, how we can change those colors, and asked them to give us a quote just for fun, just to see what it would look like, make sure everybody knows they're in Norwalk. And so they came out last month, and Deanna went out there and met him and took some pictures. And so we will be getting a quote for that. And if somewhere I can squeeze it into my budget, I would love to be able to do that. They would stay up year round. We can change them to anything we want. And they will be doing a demo for you guys after the next council meeting on the 20th. So they'll just light that up as soon as the council meeting's over, in case you want to drive out there and take a look at it. And then we'll get the quote in front of you, and we'll see if we want to do it. But just something kind of fun and interesting. And thank you, Wayne, for letting everybody get in there and set those up that night. You'll have to do it again on the 20th.
That could be neater than the big gorilla.
Yeah. Yes.
Pink. Could be pink on my birthday. Yep. Anyway.
All right. Anything else?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Thank you. Jean Strable.
Good evening. I just had a couple of updates. One is a reminder that the library will be closed on Friday, May 14th, all day for our second annual Staff in Service Day. So we're looking forward to a day full of learning and energizing. And one of the topics that we're going to be talking about is prepping for our summer reading program. We are very close to being able to roll out all of the advertising and promotions for that, and it's going to be a great summer. The theme is Reading Colors Your World. We have activities for all ages, and I get to announce here that we will be having our first in-person programs since COVID started, we will be having outdoor story times for all ages starting in June. So we are so excited to be able to do something in person again.
All right.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Robin.
Okay, I'll go quick. I apologize. I do have a lot tonight. So just to let you guys know that phase 2 of the Great Western Trail will go out to bid on July 20th. We were notified of that earlier this week. Celebrate Earth Day was on April 23rd. We had about 30 volunteers come out to Elizabeth Holland Park and City Park. We planted 16 trees and picked up trash in both of those parks. Walking Wednesday, excuse me, Walking Wednesdays started this week, 11:30 to 12 at Elizabeth Holland Park, and we'll continue that throughout the summer. Mackinac is in full swing. We've got baseball and softball tournaments every weekend, soccer, baseball, and softball going on every night of the week. Let's see, Windflower Park. They are out there working on the basketball court. They are resurfacing that and putting on new basketball lines and pickleball lines. And that should be completed by Wednesday of next week, weather dependent. Let's see, what else? I did, Jackie asked about the phase 1 of the Great Western Trail. So I text our engineer and he said, he just confirmed that the grading contractor has been out with an illness, but then in the next couple weeks, we should see significant progress on that. Wanted to let you guys also know that Monday, May 10th, we will begin regular hours for the public. So we will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Let's see. Also wanted to add to Chief Staples' information. In addition to Billy O, we did have some vandalism at Windflower, and we were able to actually get a picture of that person as well. And the damage was done to the camera that is there. IT kind of informed us of that. But anyways, families have been spoken to on that one as well. So I really, really appreciate all of police department's help in the past couple of weeks getting this taken care of. Our vandalism in the restrooms anyways has gone down. So we haven't had anything in the past 2 weeks. So I really appreciate that. And everything to check the restrooms at night. It's just, it's nice to have the support. So thank you. And then last thing to mention, with the addition of Serenity Woods, we now manage 29.23 acres per 1,000 residents. And that is estimating our population at 12,000. Our goal and our open space plan was to manage 15.5 acres per 1,000 by the year 2030. So we are currently over that. We currently in our subdivision regulations, we require 8.5 acres per 1,000. As we move towards 2030, what that basically means is that we estimated population in 2030 being around 22,000. We will be at 16.53 acres in the year 2030. And that's an estimation, but just to kind of let you guys know what the update is on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Nothing. Jean's got my brain all crazy, so no, thank you.
All right. Stephanie?
Nothing.
Brian? Nothing. Lou?
Just have a few quick items first. Thank you to Captain Porter for helping us out. We appreciate that. Also, I-35, there's going to be a temporary closure that they'll be running through using Highway 28. There's 2 days in a row from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. May 17th and May 18th. So evening hours, which is positive. And then lastly, I plan to make a visit to the county supervisors for an update in the next few weeks And I'll likely be taking a lot of information that Holly presented and what Luke Pears talked about as far as update to the supervisors.
I will be at the county supervisors meeting on the 18th. Drew Merrifield will be there as well to discuss increasing the board of supervisors to 5 and making a case to do that.
Good.
Just to let you know. Hopefully, I think we have 2 supervisors that are for this, so hopefully it'll get to a vote. The other thing is that May 15th and 16th is the weekend where everything's going to go nuts here in Norwalk because stuff's going to be put out at the curb. All your junk's going to be put out at the curb. Right, Wayne?
Yep.
And then so May 17th, they're going to be starting to pick it up. And then just as a reminder, May 22nd is the drop-off event at Public Works.
Yep.
You can get rid of good stuff there. All right, that's all I have. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, same. We're adjourned, 8:30. Thanks, guys.
All right, good night.